Hello, 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 hello. This is OkayOkayOKOK, and I'm inking Wendy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the epic log of the epilogue, the epic clog, or some kind of order of that, the epic log of the epilogue of the epic clog. Yeah, so this is the first issue of the little mini series that's happening that follows up on everything that happened post chapter 2. It should be a little quick sort of story, kind of wrapping up everything that happened to the factory, and kind of has fun with all the people in the factory that have had their troubles with Wonka. And yeah, because there's a lot of good material in here. Fun stuff. So I'm inking today. You can see I've gotten penciling done. I'm using Photoshop on here. Photoshop is a good way to do it. And you know what? I should probably check to make sure the description is okay. I'll do that when I stop though. Let's see here. So we're gonna use Photoshop and just start inking here. You can see I did a pretty loose job with the penciling, trying to kind of make up for some time that I don't have. So you know what, I'm just gonna redo that line. It kind of slows things down when you don't have the penciling done really well, but it's also like the flip side is, hey, you know what, I didn't spend 20 minutes cleaning up the lines, so maybe I'll spend 15 minutes cleaning up the inks. And as long as you kind of feel like some confidence and some you kind of coach yourself into being like, yes, I can do it, I can do this. It seems to kind of balance out in your favor if you don't do intense pencils, I think. But if you come into this and you're like, oh, I need those pencil lines to get through this, I need to be able to know exactly what I'm inking, then it doesn't really work out too well. And of course, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say every iteration of penciling and sketching that you do, it gets better and better, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you just keep working on something and it kind of loses that initial genius. I don't know a better word for it other than genius. That initial spark, I guess, where it's like, I had it right the first time. I've been thinking about that a lot lately, about how I guess it kind of goes along with the nostalgia factor of a lot of stuff now, where everything is just getting rehashed and sequeled and franchised. Where like you go back to the original, and it's really cool that you can have original works of art, like the first of something, when the first something of a series is actually the best thing. Like, you put your like initial efforts into it. Sometimes it's just like that lightning in a bottle effect, where before you have all these different minds working on it. There's so many series, so many TV series and that kind of things, where it's like after if it's like a 5-season thing, it's like after season 2 it just kind of like bleh, it flatlines and it gets bad. Where like that's really interesting to kind of take note of, is how original stuff can hold up as the best, where you always, because I guess with the mentality of like, the more you do, the better you'll get. There's always that kind of mentality, especially it's very true with art, where the more you practice, the better you'll get. A lot of skills are like that, but sometimes with the creative factor and story aspect, where you're trying to create stories, it doesn't always work like that. speaking of stories, we've got the Tales from the Crypt Keeper story idea contest happening right now, and a little update on that. We've got several, I should say more than several entries have come in. We've had a lot of good ideas get thrown our way. The story idea contest, if you're not familiar with it, is for the series Tales from the Crypt Keeper. It's another series I do. I pretty much do 2 series nowadays, the Wendy Wonka series and the Tales from the Crypt Keeper, and it's 2 very different genres, both in a niche sort of aspect of, I guess, interest. So the story contest is basically a contest where you take a few ideas, because the Tales from the Crypt Keeper, every issue, comic issue, has 2, maybe 3 stories within the issue, and they're all new characters every time. It's like short stories, and I don't know, just with the content that is inside, it works out really well, I think. It's like, I do Wendy Wonka and I do Tales from the Crypt Keeper. They're both very enjoyable comic series to work on, and I've had a hard time like branching out from those because they're very fun to do. The only reason I stopped doing Sanderson's Stepsisters was because it wasn't selling that well, and I think I kind of got the sort of felt why. Like, when I started that series, I had a vague like notion of a grand arc for the characters and everything, and I think it just kind of got bogged down in story, and it was very fun, and I think it worked out very well for a while, and then I just got really focused and wanted to tell a story with it. And I think there's a very delicate balance between storytelling and visual storytelling, and I sort of got limited with my visual storytelling by the plot storytelling that I was having to do. And I think that the series started, it was time to move on from that series, I felt like. But I really enjoyed the characters, and I really had a fun time revisiting it with the giant jazz balloon. But okay, so I digress. We're getting back to the Tales from the Crypt Keeper story contest. The idea for the contest is to have a very, very simple contest, one that anyone can enter. It doesn't require a whole lot of time or skill to be put into it, where it's just like, hey, pitch your idea of a comic story, a simple, very short comic story. Pitch your idea. Imagine you're on the elevator with somebody and you're like, hey, I've got this idea. Let me tell this idea to you before we get to the top of the elevator, that kind of thing. So that's the whole contest, where you try to, create a paragraph or 2 of an idea, and then you pitch that idea. And so you can submit up to 3 ideas, and the way I've been doing it for a long time is I'll look through your 3 ideas, and I'll pick out one idea that's the best, and then I'll advance that one idea into the next round of what I call, like, finger quotes, judgment. So because like, it gets into the next round, and then I compare all these other advanced round. In the next round, I compare all the ones that made it to that round, and do I think these ideas could work together? And you kind of you go into another round, and like you just keep narrow down the field, because you start out with, like, I might get like 50 submissions, and then there's 3 ideas in each submission, so that's like 150 ideas that I've got to narrow down to 2 or 3, which is pretty crazy. That's like what is that, like 1%? So 1% of the ideas will be used. And the other thing is, with these story ideas, I do encourage you to reuse ideas if you think an idea is good and it didn't get chosen. you know, you can always just resubmit an idea, because just because it didn't get used doesn't mean it's not good. Doesn't mean I didn't like it. Sometimes when we get to the, you know, third or fourth round, I'll be looking at ideas and being like, well, this one's very similar to that one, and I think I'll go with this one, even though they're very similar. Or, and then I don't even use that similar idea, and it just, you know, there's so many levels of choosing that, you know, it's just the odds of getting chosen are very small. So it doesn't mean it's not a good idea, and I know I risk like offending some people because I didn't use their idea, but it's not that I thought it was bad. It's just very, very few ideas get used. What we're working on here is, oh shoot, that's a very thick line. So I'm gonna kind of try to narrow that line down a little bit. Probably shouldn't even have the line there. Let's just have that like very, very, because she's kind of like a bubble. So, yeah, what are we thinking? I like doing these live streams, and progress work is taking a new form of, like, there's a new reason why I like to do them, because of, you know, the whole AI coming onto the scene. I like to show that I'm not using AI. There's a lot of defenders of AI out there who are like, you know, you can't criticize AI. You use AI all the time. And I'm like, do you even know? Like, you can't just like wildly accuse people of using AI when you have no idea. Like, I don't know, am I using AI right now? I don't think so. I mean, I do use Photoshop, and I know Adobe is going they're going all in on AI usage, which is kind of stinks. I'd like to figure out a different program to use other than Photoshop, but I'm not familiar with any other programs right now. I know of Procreate, but I think Procreate is just animation. I'm sure there's other good programs out there, and they're probably even better suited for drawing. But I got started with Photoshop. I've always known how to use Photoshop since like high school, and it just has worked out that way. So, I think this character's name is Marilyn, or no, it's Madeline. I think I liked using it because of the Mad Hatter. Takes the mad. It's very maddening. So yeah, I like doing the live streams to show that I'm still physically doing artwork. I'm not relying on my seems like my graphics card is not able to keep up with me. I like to use you know, just pen and ink, you know, basically what this is on Photoshop. It's just like a ballpoint pen pretty much. But yeah, I'm very much against AI. I think the world I think it's the next plastics of the world, where like, you know, sure, plastics are very useful. I think it's actually probably going to be less useful than plastics. I think AI is going to do more harm to the world and humanity than plastics. So if you're a big fan of plastics, I think you'll probably love AI. There's no protections for the population from AI, and I think that's going to be detrimental for our society. I think the ideal society would have a universal pay kind of thing, you know, as outlined by the creator of AI, who thinks it's going to usher in this utopia where everyone's, you know, in this golden age of AI, They explain, I think it's Sam Altman. He was just his thought on why this is going to usher in this golden age is everyone's going to have this universal income. Like, I don't know how delusional you have to be to imagine everyone getting a universal income, but I remember that was that idea was put forth in one of the elections. I think it was back in the 2016 election, and they tried it with maybe like a town or something, and I'm sure it did well, but it's just never going to work out. Like, no one is ever getting a universal income. Maybe some country over in Europe is going to successfully do it, but definitely not the United States, because that just seems to go against everything a millionaire, billionaire would want, and then there's probably going to be a ton of opposition to it. That might change as as everyone loses their job, but I think there's three big things affecting the world today. Like, the three threats to humanity are inflation, AI, and what was the other one? I can't believe I forgot it. It's pretty big too. Inflation, AI, and oh my gosh, it's really big too. Where is it? Oh my gosh. Oh well, it doesn't matter. I also kind of think that we're on the precipice of a major collapse again. Maybe that's just too much YouTube watching, but I think we are in for some trouble here coming soon. But in the meantime, we're gonna try to escape with some comics and some fun stories. I went to watch If the other day, where I'm like on this movie theater going frenzy. I've now watched 3 movies in the past month, which I can't even remember the last movie I saw. The last movie I saw in the theater before this month was like a year ago, maybe. I can't even remember what movie it was, but I just it was Mario, the Mario movie. I saw that with the family, so we saw that, and then I don't know how long ago that was, but a long time ago. And now we've watched Godzilla vs. Kong, which I really, really enjoyed that. It's just a fun popcorn movie. Watched Phantom Menace re-release. I had fun with that. There's still some very comedically bad parts of the prequels, but as time goes on, you learn to appreciate the prequels for at least trying. I think they tried, and they ushered in some new ideas, not really new ideas, but they had new. I appreciate the prequels because they ushered in all these new things. I didn't appreciate the sequels because they basically just reskinned existing stuff, and that's not even that well thought out. There's not like a impressive degree of redesign. It's like, here's a walker with a slightly bigger head, or all that. And then even then there was like Rogue One, and I just felt like Rogue One really captured the design aesthetic of Star Wars, like the original trilogy. And I should probably turn my chat on. I'm just talking. I completely forgot about chat. But anyways, I saw If as well. I didn't care for If. I fell asleep twice during the movie. It was one that my kids wanted to see, and so we went and saw it, and my kids were even like, when is this movie going to be over? So not a good sign for your movie when the kids are like, can we go now? But it's going to be like a forgotten kind of movie. Like, it's not great. It's okay. I got so tired of the musical score in If, where it was like this dramatic, like, symphony, like, oh my gosh, like the symphony of music. It just goes from one dramatic, like, swelling of symphony to the next, and it just keeps doing that. I'm just like, I'm over it. Stop, like, playing this music. I like classical music, but this is just like overdone. I kind of had a feeling like they probably used AI to make that soundtrack, where it was just like, it's just the same thing over and over and over. I was ready to check out. I look over at my kids, and like, they're playing with the seats, like going back and forth on the seats, and we had much more fun with the movie theater seats than we did with the movie, which, that's not a good sign. But yeah, they were like, they did that serious thing where they look over at you and they like cock their eyebrow, and they're like, going down. and I don't know, they were restless, and so I was the opposite. I was restful. I was sleeping, and they were playing around with the seats. But we went to saw it on like a Tuesday matinee. Still was like $30, which can't imagine why movies are going extinct when it cost $50 to see a movie. We watched King Kong in 3D because that was the only Showtime we could catch, and I'm so glad we did. I'm trying to think. I know I remember watching Avatar. There's very few movies I see in 3D. I've seen, the back when Avatar, the original Avatar, I remember seeing that in 3D, and I remember that just leaving a pretty big impression on me. What other movie have I seen in 3D? There's been like one, maybe two other movies. But that was fun to watch King Kong in 3D. The guy at the front of the theater, he gave us IMAX glasses, not 3D glasses. I don't know why you need glasses for IMAX viewings, but that's what he gave us. And so we missed the first part of the movie because we had to go. We were about to like walk out and ask for a refund because we're like, the movie's messed up and we were the only people in the theater. So, but yeah, so we missed the beginning of the movie, and we had IMAX glasses, and once we got the 3D glasses, it was much better. It was actually 3D, and it was pretty cool. I don't know how they do that, but I would say if you are going by yourself, if you're not worried about if you're not taking your family, because that gets so expensive. Like it's like $15 ticket, and you amplify that times 4 or 5, and then add some concessions, and then you're like, okay, I just spent a month's wages on a movie. So yeah, there's that. And then I probably made her thumb look a little manly there. It's supposed to look kind of like swollen, not manly. So we kind of want like sausage fingers here. And I'm going to pull up my chat for a second. I'm going to save and pull up the chat, because I'm guessing we have a chat bar somewhere. Here we go. Yes, we have Wynn returning, and she is out for blood. She is going for the girl that she wants to become a blueberry. And she has sent her mother on a mission. So Wynn is one of the few characters in this story that has a name. There's a lot of characters in this story that we've just never really named. But both characters in this scene are named. We have Madeline and Wynn. And Wynn's mom. I don't think Wynn's mom has ever gotten... I think Wynn's mom and Ryan's mom Both are just their kid's name, Mom. Okay, so I'm kind of getting caught up on this finger. But aside from those movies I've seen, there's been 0 movies that I'm interested in going to see. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people, where it's like, do you want to see the movie enough to go pay the money to go see it? Oh, hope Wynn's mom was able to find Zoe. She's going to have a hard time because if you remember, Zoe does not look like Zoe anymore. That's why Wynn's mom can't find her, is because Zoe now looks like a cow. And Wynn's mom has no idea what happened in the barn. So it's going to be hard for her to know that Zoe is now a cow. Cowgirl. Oh, Furiosa. I need to watch it. That's probably my problem too. Like, I'm missing a lot of the movies. Like, I don't see where these trailers are coming out. A lot of times the movie will be out and I'll be like, oh, that actually that's over now. Like, I don't know. I'm like missing up. I'm not catching all these movies that are coming to theaters. I am not terribly interested in Furiosa. I really loved Mad Max. The few commercials I've seen for Furiosa, I'm not sure I'm digging Chris Hemsworth as the lead bad guy. And I don't know. It hasn't really grabbed onto me yet, but I really did enjoy the first one. I saw the first one in theaters. I remember it did feel just like a amusement park ride where you get into the movie and you just like get thrown around in your seat, and it was definitely like a nice adventure, and like a thrill ride. So I'm willing to give it a chance. I should probably watch it again, watch the trailer again. I really wanted to figure out if Chris Hemsworth if this is prequel, is Chris Hemsworth the like son of that white-haired guy, or if he is that guy before he turns into that, like his young self, or if it's his son. That's because I've seen both Chris Hemsworth's character and that white-haired guy in trailers and stuff, so I'm pretty confused as to whether and maybe I don't need to know that, but I'm very curious about that. Mortal Joe, yes. So I don't know if Chris Hemsworth is Immortal Joe young, or if it's Immortal Joe's son. I'm not very caught up on the Mad Max story line. Yes, this is the epilogue. The epic log. The epilogue of the epic log of the epic clog. So, try to say that. It's not easy. Okay, so, yeah, the Tales from the Crypt Keeper contest is going on. If you're interested in that, you can submit 3 ideas, quick ideas. The whole idea is to make a contest very easy to enter. And if you'd like to see your idea kind of turned into a comic, I know I've got tons of ideas I would love to get turned into comics. The problem is it takes a long time to do a comic. And if someone was going to do a comic of my story for free, that would be amazing. So that's kind of what I am trying to offer, where it's like, if you want your idea turned into a comic, there might be some degree of altering of the idea, you know, like adapting it to a comic. And if you're curious about what that looks like, I do have past ideas, submissions from, I know I have it from the last 2 comics, issues 15 and 14, and I think 13. If you wanted to see like what the original submitted ideas read out like, and see how they transformed into the visual comic, you can find those links in my gallery. I think one was on a Patreon post, and that Patreon post is gone, so unfortunately that might not work out anymore. I'm now on Subscribestar, and I need to do another. I was so frustrated by Patreon. I'm just like, I'm done with Patreon's website. If you don't know, they removed my account and did it on a Friday, so I couldn't appeal it. They only offer you like 48 hours to appeal it, and you know, good luck finding out how to appeal it and who to send your appeal to and why you even got removed in the first place. They really are not user friendly, and I remember I did email them trying to navigate that, and they were about as helpful as you know, like talking to a door, I guess. It was like, no. And then the other thing was, I was subscribed to a few people, a few different Patreon accounts, and so they did that. They were deleted my account near the beginning of the month, so I'd already paid these other accounts, and then they deleted my account, so I had no access to them, and so that was just really frustrating. They didn't have a problem refunding all the payments that sent to me, like for me to get paid, but when I was trying to access stuff I paid for, yeah, they just like, oh, we'll keep your money. And yeah, they were just, when I was like, what does that mean? What was I trying to clear up? There was something I was trying to clear up with them where they were like, your account, you can't access your account anymore. And I was like, no, there was something very vague they said. And I was like, well, what does that even mean? And they would just like repeat themselves, like, well, your account is no longer there. And I was like, well, what does that entail? Like, what can I not, you know, unsubscribe from the stuff that I'm subscribed to while I continue getting charged every month? And they're like, it means your account is no longer there. I'm like, well, okay, but you're not answering any of my questions. And I don't know, like Patreon, I think the only like reconciliation I have for my Patreon getting removed is that it was going downhill every month. Like it peaked in the pandemic, and then from what I hear of other Patreon creators, it's the same thing. Everyone peaked during the pandemic, and it's been a slow decline ever since the pandemic. And there's nothing, you know, there was the 1 month I did body battles where I was posting like poll after poll after poll, and you know, posting polls on 3 different places every 24 hours, and I think I was doing like 4 polls every 24 hours, which is a lot of polls. And you know, I didn't see my subscriber count go up at all. I got a lot more followers, and I enjoyed doing the body battles because it was something different and fun. And it was an interesting experiment to see if there was any more, like if you do more, will you get more? And it was like, no. you can toil away for 24 hours in the day, and you're not going to get any more subscribers or any more payments or anything like that. So that was an interesting experiment, and kind of showed that like Patreon is not really a great option to continue going with. You know, it's kind of, it plateaued, and then it kind of, I shouldn't even say it plateaued, it was steadily declining. And so we're with Subscribe Star now, and it's basically Patreon. So it is got the same. It's got the same problem, I think, but you know, it's nice to have somewhere where I can post progress stuff and where I can keep people informed of what's going on behind the scenes. Because the other places I feel like are people are wanting more finished products, and I don't want to like clutter up a lot of my galleries with progress, and I do care a little bit more from about opinions from people who are supporting me. I want to make sure I'm hearing their voices, and you know, things like DeviantArt polls where you know, there's a huge audience, but you don't know if they're just kind of there to like troll you or that kind of thing, where they're not really, there's no like way to know if the poll is really reliable, I guess. So I think polling people who support you is a lot more reliable, and you can definitely get a better feel for what your audience wants, because it is your audience. Okay, so here we go. Now we're doing this long curve. I've found that zooming in really helps with the curve. I'm hoping that you guys can see this, because I'm noticing that the format for the live stream, well, that's a little bit strange. The square, it's that rectangle box, you know, like the 16 by 9 rectangle, almost 1 by 2, where it becomes very hard to work. That's not the format of my computer screen, my workstation, so I can see more, and I'm not sure, sometimes I lose sight of what you guys are seeing versus what I'm seeing. So I'm going to try to line that up, that way I don't have to redo it. Okay, so let's see. Oh, okay, so I'm looking at the chat, and I'm sorry I was missing some of that. Yeah, Patreon, I don't like how they handled my situation. It basically didn't handle it. You know, it's very easy to just be like, hit the delete key and then say, you're gone, bye, and then just brush people off when they try to like, well, what's going on? Why? What? Is there anything I can do? Like, who do I contact? You can contact support. Bye. Like, who is support? What? You know, it was just so frustrating. Like, it was like talking to AI robot or something. With the and the AI robot's function is just to push you onto someone else, or to make you give up. That's what it felt like. Don't bother fighting us, taking up our time. But yeah, such is the way. Is I feel like a lot of stuff, like I was talking about this with someone the other day, where it feels like the dream kind of hopeful feeling of the atmosphere, like on the internet or that kind of thing, there's kind of like a dark cloud that's been forming, and everybody, like, there's not really this air of hope anymore, where, you know, and that's not a good feeling, where it's like this feeling of dread has kind of set in, where it feels like everything's under attack, and nothing is, like, it feels like you're under attack from ads and from companies and from the people in charge, like, and the population has no voice almost, and, you know, feels like the common man is getting kind of crushed right now. that's how it feels, and I think that's a very sad state, and I don't really understand or see how it's going to get better. It feels like, you know, capitalism is kind of out of control. I'm not against capitalism, but I do think it's gotten pretty crazy with no checks in place. It feels like everything is just no checks in the highest places where there needs to be, and we're gonna see how bad that gets. So I'm sorry. I probably need some kind of medication or some kind of happy pill. I'm not very happy now these days, I guess. So someone was asking what the plot summary of the epilogue is. The epilogue. Miss Wonka is wondering. Well, that is. So the whole epilogue can be very easily kind of summed up with this. The whole, I guess the goal or the mission can be summed up with this, where it's like Wendy is going to help with this cleanup of the factory, and what could go wrong? And I was noticing, like, this character down here, this penciling is just a blob of gestural drawing, so I'm gonna definitely have to work on this penciled character down here. And so this is a person down here, actually. I know it's hard to tell, but let's sort of form this person a little bit better. We need to do a better gestural drawing too, because this person is holding... She's going to be holding one of these like candy air containers, and this pipe, this hose is connected to that girl up there. And I think her head's probably way too big. So her head needs to be actually smaller than the girl up there because it's closer. So we're going to have to change the size. I'm actually going to just do a new layer because this is pretty far. This is pretty bad. Okay, let's do a stick figure first. Got some Deftones playing. Okay, so let's see, if you're, yeah, the thumb would be on the outside. So this would be like her pinky. Well, let's just have her whole hands kind of together. Let's see, she has this like hair coming down like that. Now for the perspective, we're gonna have to do her we'll have to do her legs much smaller than this. And so that head, I'm feeling very dizzy right now. I'm not sure why. Okay, so here she is. We're gonna draw like, this is kind of where her torso would be. This is Wynn's mom down here in the little doorway. And she's wearing a dress, so we'll go ahead and put that dress on her. but we're gonna have her legs kind of going down into triangles. She's got some calves. That blonde butch body. Oh man, did you see that cat fight in Congress? That was embarrassing to watch for everyone involved. Okay, here we go. I think her head is looking a little squanch. Let's kind of make it narrow that thing too. There we go. All right, now we're gonna have that now that's looking much more realistic, I guess, or right? Correct? Okay, so we want this hose line to be tight, I guess. So we want it to run straight over here. We want it to like run to this, I think. And then it'll kind of curve around. I'm trying to imagine the mass of the body, like where it's gonna make contact. Okay. So the question of is Zoe still somewhat Zoe? She is still some Zoe, but she's like 90% a cow. So there's not much left of Zoe mentally, and she can't talk. That's for sure. If you go back and look, I think you see that she's fairly feral. All right, so I think that's about got. I was watching this fun video about Alaska's Dark Pyramid. It was basically this conspiracy theory, maybe, that there's a dark pyramid that generates energy in Alaska. And I don't know, like sometimes conspiracy videos are just fun. And there's basically this aliens working with humans in Alaska underground, in this dark pyramid underground. And it's a alien like gas station charging their UFOs. So I don't know, it's still fun to listen to stories like that. There's actually a true story that you would definitely enjoy listening to if you're into that kind of thing, into kind of conspiracy stuff, where it's like there's actually nothing false about it. It's a completely true story. It was this guy who infiltrated Area 51. I believe that's the name of the area, out in Las Vegas, Nevada area. So he was this huge historian, very smart guy, very into history. I like history. I wouldn't call myself a historian. So I have lots of friends who are historians, and it's amazing. There's definitely like something about history that really fascinates some people, and it fascinates me, but I'm just like not to the point where I'm going to put as much energy into it as a lot of people. But a lot of people are super into history, so this guy was into super into history, and he wanted to go back and trace the route of the 49ers Wagoneers. He he really tried to get into Area 51 legally, just so he could go find this relic of the 49ers Wagoneers, like these Wagoneers wagon party back when, you know, people crossed the desert in wagons, pulled by horses. You know, she looks a little bit big, so I'm gonna shrink her down just a little bit more. I want her head to be smaller than the balloon girl's head. There we go. Because, you know, she's gonna be further away. We'll have this like trifecta of close, far, really far. So yeah, this guy who wanted to get into Area 51 just to kind of find this, I think it was a carving by this area, you know, these Wagoneers. Area 51, the 49ers. I think it was 1849. Sorry, it's probably way off. So, but he wanted to get in there, and they continually denied his request to get in there. Not interested in Area 51 and all that stuff that was going in there. But I think by some time he was just like, you know what, screw them, I'm doing this. He goes in, his friend drops him off with like a backpack and a cell phone, and he just starts walking towards Area 51 because that's very, like, the Wagoneer thing is inside Area 51. So he walks in there with just his backpack, and it's crazy, a canteen and a backpack, and he penetrates Area 51 and spends the night there, I think 1 or 2 nights, and sees some very interesting stuff. It doesn't get into the like really crazy, but very interesting and wild story. I definitely recommend finding that story and listening to it, because it really held me captive, I guess, where I was like, this is crazy. Because that guy was, you know, it's like a death sentence if you get caught inside Area 51. No one knows you're there, so they'll just get rid of you. They don't have to, you know, catch and release. There's the catching part. Alright, so I think that is going to do it for this. I mean, we could go ahead and ink this. I'm kind of getting the perspective wrong on this. So we're going to be looking at it from above, and so we're going to be seeing the underside of that. I got that wrong, that's why that's looking weird. I'm going to try to kind of make this three-dimensional. And there is this area has flooded, so we're going to try to make it look like there's, you know, water, but we all know it's not water. We know what it is. So there's that's the wallpaper hallway right there. And then the taste testing is right down the hallway. Didn't want when's mom can say. Yes, she was in the issue number 7. She was drinking some of that, but I assume she was able to manage it with, the juicing room. So she is actually one of the she's going to be a little bit of a character in this. Not just a little bit. Wynn's mom is going to be I guess one of them, not a major character, but I don't know what do you call like a character who's not. I guess she'll be like a supporting character. She's not major, but she's definitely going to be a good, well-featured character. So if you like Wynn's mom, she's gonna experience some interesting transformations in this. You'll want to stay tuned for that because I'm pretty excited for her transformation. Yeah, that was part of the not the. So when I started figuring out what the story was going to be for this epilogue, I started thinking about, and I was actually brainstorming some with B-Ridge. B-Ridge was very excited to help out with that. So we were exchanging some ideas, and first of all, I was thinking what we've got to do is we've got to get some of these characters back to a somewhat normal state, because once they're giant and big, like there's not much you can do with them in the story. You have to have some characters who are able to move around, to walk around and to do things. And so that was definitely in the forefront of my mind, where it's like, well, that's a good place to start. Where what characters do we have already that can actually walk and can be functional characters in the story? So once they're like transformed, they basically become part of the factory. Sorry, I hit the microphone. They're basically part of the factory. They're like kind of like a prop almost, if you think of them that way. Not so much of a character, but as they're a piece of the set. So we needed characters, and that was a very easy way to get started, because you think, well, what characters do we have? Oh, sorry. What characters do we have to work with, and can we get any characters back to a normal state? Should we? That kind of thing. So the normal characters we have are basically Brittany, who's somewhat normal. Most of the characters we have are like at least changed. They're not the same as when they walked in. So we have Brittany, who's got some cow features. We've got Wynn's mom, who she's still blue, and she is somewhat normal. She's probably one of the most normal people in here, actually. If your skin is just blue, I think you got out of that. What? I can't even remember the phrase. You didn't get it too bad. You got pretty lucky if all you got was your skin turned blue. So we have Wynn's mom. We also, there is the girl who was like unbirthed in the last issue. She is back. And who else? I'm trying to think now. We will go down into the Crystal Caverns. I was hoping I could get that in this first issue, but I've run out of time. I'm going to be doing good just to get this little side story started. Issue 2 is going to be a good cram-packed with transformations and all that kind of stuff. A lot of build-up in issue 1, and the a lot of main action is going to start happening in issue 2. That's just unfortunately how this is working out. And a lot of the world building and the setup is happening here. So definitely necessary for the overall arcing of the story and the tension build up. But in the issue 2, that's when a lot of the transformations are going to get kind of crazy and fun. I feel like in the, was it chapter, yeah, in chapter 1, issue 5 was like that, where it's like issue 4 kind of built up to something. There wasn't a whole lot in issue 4, and then in issue 5 it's just like blah, like all this kind of fun crazy stuff. And so issue 5 was very popular with everyone, and so I think that's kind of what's going to happen with issue 2, where it's like a lot of build up in issue 1, getting people into the story and developing what's happening, and then issue 2 it happens, you know. All right, so I am done. Oh yeah, I could definitely ink the mom over here. What was the layer 26, I think? Yeah. So I'm going to turn that off. So we're going to go ahead and ink. Will Zoe or Diane be back? Yes, Zoe will be back and Diane will be back. Yeah, shouts out to B Ridge. Life has changed a lot for both of us, I think, and you know, I really, I feel bad for saying this. I long for the days where it's like I had more time in my day and I could just kind of relax and, you know, have like sessions with people. Not sessions, but you know, like I feel like there's no time in the day anymore where if I'm not working on something, I'm pretty much like screwing myself over. There's been a lot of like medical stuff going on recently with me, and you know, medical stuff really just eats up your free time and your like extra money, I guess, like your, what's that called, your discretionary spend, non-discretionary spending, where it's like all my money's gone. I could have spent like over $1,000 on stuff I enjoyed doing, or I could have paid for that CAT scan. So it's like, don't you love it, Americans? Because that's, I was looking at a chart that like explained where inflation has grown the most and what fields and everything, and guess what, the medical field saw the most inflation. Like it grew by like 4%, like 4% more charging. And it was like, yeah, I can see how inflation really hit the medical field hard. Like how? I don't know. I don't know. It just, and it's a shame. That's been the one thing I've always wanted. Is like, if you know, there's all kinds of polls when the election year comes, like what topics, or you know, what topics are most important to you, and they'll have all these things and it'll be like healthcare system. Like, I'll just keep it to one. Like, I would really like the healthcare system to be managed a little bit better, because that impacts my life tremendously. I feel very much like a slave to keeping myself alive. Being alive is expensive. And there's just no excuse, I feel like, for the medical system to be charging. I mean, it's if the medical system is now charging more, like you think about like McDonald's from like a Big Mac meal going from $8 to $18, you just think about how ridiculous that is. Well, with the medical system, it's grown even more than that, where it's like, can you just imagine like the $300 scan used to be $300, now it's like $1,800. So good luck paying for it. And I'm just kind of tired of all that. It's unfortunate, and I would love to move to a different country where healthcare is paid for. It's just part of your taxes. I know that's not everyone, and if it's not you, then you're very lucky. You're very fortunate to not have to deal with this really terrible system. And you should enjoy that part of your life while you can, because you're not going to be healthy forever. All right, so let's see here. I think here we go. I also want to get set up to live stream on Twitter. I saw someone do that the other day, and I was like, that's something I want to try. It's kind of complicated because you're gonna have to download a media managing application and assign it permissions and all that. So I'm not really too. That turned me off from it. Where it's like, I just want to be able to stream. It's not very streamer friendly, I guess. Still kind of complicated, and you just kind of let other people figure it out for you at this point. So but I do just want to try it out. I don't know, like, there's very few things left to try out that should be fun. And I was also looking up cost of physically printed comics, and I found found a place that could print my comics for like a single issue of a comic. I could get it printed for like $6 an issue. That is before all the shipping costs, I think. So I'd have to get it shipped to me and then ship it out to someone, which I think that's probably going to add another probably like $6 to $10 into that. So that's kind of a lot when you think of like the final price of the product. So it's a little unfortunate. I want to do it like a big package, because essentially like half the cost is shipping. So you're going to want to throw some extra stuff in there and make it like a package. Like really make it a package. Really make it worth the investment of paying for shipping. I still need to finish doing some merchandise. I've gotten some shirts designed from print-on-demand shirts, and I wanted to do some more shirts and a coffee mug. I've tried some initial designs using some Safe for Work stuff, and I'd like to put some actual physical merch into a package that comes with the physical comic. I think that would be fun. And then I'll probably do a special where I include a comic with a purchase of a merch thing, where it's like a digital comic. Like if you buy a t-shirt of the Crib Keeper series, then you get the recent Crib Keeper issue too. Or, you know, with Wonka, if you buy a Wonka shirt, you'll get the comic with it as well, just for fun, because I know it could be kind of intimidating to do something for the first time. Kind of make it fun. Okay, here we go. We're gonna make that, and it's probably need to change that brush size. Let's go with that. Okay, there we go. Actually, I messed that up because that's going to be going all the way up to there. Okay, now I can delete that. Yes, there is a cow comic that I have one page fully finished on, and at first I was thinking I'll throw the comic page into this Wonka comic as a fun little extra thing, but I think I've changed my mind on that recently. I don't think that's the best way to do it. I'd like to get maybe 2 more pages finished of it, 1 or 2 pages more, and then make it a small comic bonus kind of thing. I think just doing a single comic page add-on is going to be cause a little bit of a confusion, and like if I got a single page of a comic in a comic, I would be like, well, where's the rest of it? And I try to operate everything as if I am still in elementary school and I'm trying to figure stuff out. I want to keep things as simple and easy for people to understand as possible. And I think that I'm gonna package that in a way. I'd like to have it available as a small, like a $3 or $4 comic purchase, or put it into another comic. And I'm still playing around with how to do that, but I have several small comics like that, like several 2 or 3 page comics that have never been released that I did on commission, and I think I could group those together as like a $4 comic, because I think we did that with Erin the Witch, and people seem to enjoy that comic series a lot. It was, it's like a very small purchase, so it's not anything to like get upset over, because it's like just a few bucks. But at the same time, it's like you're getting, I think that Erin the Witch comic, I think it has like 25 pages in it, and it's only $4. Some of those pages are like a single drawing with text on it added. So, I mean, it's not like comic pages on every page. Yeah, that might be the way to. I might just change my mind and be like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's put a single comic page in there. The trouble is, like, you have to condense it into a PDF package. So we're gonna have this Wendy Wonka comic as a PDF package, and then I can't package that single page into it. I would just have to make it available as a separate download, I think. I remember doing this with the Sanderson Stepsisters side story. I forget which comic that's available with, but it's like a 3-page Sanderson Stepsisters side story, like a what if kind of thing. It kind of confused people because it was like, this is purely just like a fan fiction kind of story that somebody wanted, and I don't feel like that worked out that well so I kind of want to avoid doing what happened with that. But I think I would have to like add at least a comic title page to it. That might be the good way to do it, where you do a title page. Only I don't really have time for I'm calling it title pages. What is it called? Cover pages. Like I don't think I'll even have time to get a cover done for this comic. At least not by the time the release date rolls around. So that might be a good way to do it. though. That's what I'll try for. I'll try not to get so caught up in like, how do I do this, that I never do it. That's usually what happens, where indecision kills the release. Okay. That reminds me of that show, The Good Place. That show was, I liked the season 1 of that. And then it kind of just got like, oh, let's make complex stories for each character. And it sort of just lost its simplicity. Like the idea got too complicated for me, and like bogged down and just. But The Good Place reminds me of that. There was one character who was in hell, I think. Was it hell? Is that the twist where like, oh, they're not in heaven, they're actually in hell? Was it something like that? Where one of the characters has a really hard time making decisions, and that's his character flaw. That's who I relate to a lot. I don't know if anyone else relates to that, but a lot of times it's really hard to make a decision, and you end up not making a decision because you can't decide on something. Yeah, let's just do like, it won't be a cover page, it'll just be hey, this is a side comic, yada yada. Tune in for the next issue, for the next page. Because I am excited for the comic page. Like, it's it has a real life, it has a character based on someone in real life, and they were cool with they were cool with the idea of letting people know that it was them in the comic, and she seems cool. I really like the idea of basing characters on real life people who are, I guess, fun people to work with. Because you might not realize it, but being a comic artist is kind of isolating. I feel like, as I've come to discover, there's not a whole lot of difference between this job and sitting in a cubicle job. Besides, you get to work from home, and I don't go to conventions or anything because of my health. I don't really like being around tons of people because it's just not good for me, and I inevitably come down with something that puts me out of commission for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. So I don't do well with conventions, and that's probably to the detriment of my career. All right, so I think that has got it. Oh my gosh, what's happening? Sometimes I got a new Wacom Cintiq because my 1990 Wacom Cintiq was really starting to mess up, and this one is not without its flaws as well. It has some problems. Is this part of cool? That is really good. So let's just rotate that a little bit. So yeah, Next question. Will Zoe TF more? I think she drank some juice in an issue. And the answer is wait and see. But I think you're onto something. I don't want to spoil anything too big. But that was one of the questions I was addressing with B Ridge when we were taking, I guess, inventory of our characters and what happened to them. We were like, was that Zoe? In that we tried to, it was definitely suggested that it was Zoe, but was it? That was the question. And I'll just say we established that it was. Alright, so alright. I'm going to erase this little V right there. Don't want that. Alright. Well, I believe that this stream is over. Well, it's time to end. I'm going to go ahead and finish inking the last panel, and I will try to come back to this panel or this page. Maybe what is today? Today is Tuesday. So on Thursday, I'll come back to this and I'll show the coloring process. Get this flat colored and shaded. I'm not sure that's looking good. I might redo that. Ah. So, come back on Thursday and we'll do the coloring and shading, if that kind of thing interests you. If you have any more questions, I will return with my microphone. This has been Wendy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory inking the epic log of the epilogue of the epic clog. I think I got that backwards earlier. So thank you for stopping by this live stream. Be sure to subscribe if you want to get notified when I'm back online on Thursday. And I'm on DeviantArt and Subscribestar and Twitter, so check me out there too. I will see you next time.